And so that wraps up our 2-day virtual summit. I just want to recap the last couple days. We covered the state of Hispanic legal marketing. We covered TCPA. We covered the end of the FCC one-to-one consent rule. Tons of changes in Google Ads. Tons of tools that you could use today with AI-powered social media tools. We got into the TikTok ban, the chilling effect, how that should inspire virtually everyone marketing to explore as many different channels, even the not so famous ones, for the purpose of finding their own breakthroughs. AI innovations in intake, and of course, here with Andy, intake optimization. So going back to our intro, you just have to embrace the uncertainty. All the topics we discussed today, we did not anticipate talking about them a year ago. And I think that speaks to how uncertain everything is. I think the best digital marketers, the ones that do best in case generation, they're the ones that are embracing uncertainty. They kind of thrive in it. So if that's an area that you don't feel comfortable in, just understand it's just kind of the necessary characteristic for moving into that next level of business. So again, thank you to everyone. Thank you to our entire team, Andrea, Ali, Sunari, Joe, JC, Jorge, and to Ali, and rather Andy and Andrea, and Jennifer for this program. We had a ton of others. We had our graphic designers, Anna, our video editors, our video managers, David. Thank you to everyone involved. This was a massive, massive effort. We're going to do it. Of course, again, who knows, we might even do one at the mid-year. We'll see how we can innovate and continue providing this type of programming for legal professionals nationwide. Now, we will also be continuing our monthly webinar series. We do 1 to 2 of those a month. Those are fairly short, 30 to 45 minutes. So just always stay tuned over our email and our website. Our homepage always has those announcements. If you haven't gotten your white paper, email jc@abogadosnow.com. You want replays, we hear it. For those non-paying members in our program, we're going to get you a limited time access to all of these modules. We see a comment here from Levi Guerrero. Thank you for everything. No, thank you. And now we're going to get into some questions. We have quite a bit of volume here. We have some questions here, and then also JC collected a bunch of questions that came via email. So JC, do you mind sending that link once more so we can oh wait, I have it right here. Okay, so and I think I'd like to bring in a couple of our teammates. Andrea, do you mind hopping on? All right, cool.
Yeah, I don't have lipstick, but I'm back.
All right, thanks for hopping on again. So we're going to go through some of this Q&A. Let's start with this one that has the highest votes. There's kind of a tie here. What type of post have you seen the most success with? Story videos, pictures posts, or videos posts? You're in the weeds. We spend 6-7 figures a month on ads. What are you seeing right now as the biggest trend for conversion?
Videos, especially funny videos. People like the informative one, but the funny videos where the actors are making noise effects, are just acting generally like charming and likable, those do the best. After videos, the second will be case results or testimonials. People really like when you have a real person talking about your firm. So those people respond very strongly too. So I would say videos and then reviews and testimonials as far as a static posts go.
That's great. Okay, that's good. I see this question here that I'll take the lead on. It says, what lead generation strategies work best in culturally diverse markets, and how can I adapt these strategies for the Hispanic community? That's a great question. So when I hear like culturally diverse markets, I think of like Jersey, New York, where there are, in the context of the Hispanic market, there are so many types of Hispanic persons in the United States, or rather in those markets: El Salvadorians, Ecuadorians, Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans. It's like everyone is in Jersey and New York. And so typically I like to go fairly conservative in terms of not even just the marketing strategy, just the language. Like typically you want to avoid any shorthand, any slang, any kind of innuendo that's like specific to a particular segment of the Hispanic market. And that is typically for markets like Jersey, New York, and to some extent, Chicagoland. It's super diverse. So you kind of had to play the averages. When we see markets like Southern California, which is heavily Mexican, or South Florida, very Puerto Rican, very, very Cuban, we say play with the dominant average. So like use the shorthand, double down on Mexican Independence Day, double down on Cuban Heritage Day, like go to those events, put it on the website, put it on your social medias, take video of you participating in the events, saying that you're speaking to the community. So if you find that you're in a market where it's hyper diverse, like Jersey, New York, play conservative. If you find yourself in a market where there's a lot of dominance of one particular immigrant, like Hispanic group, by all means, appeal to them, but do it authentically. Don't do this as some kind of like marketing strategy where you just see, all these Hispanic folks in your community as, lead A, B, C, and D. No, these are people, undocumented or not. These are people that just want another option in the legal community. And so speak towards that. Any other notes on that, Andrea?
Yeah, something to keep in mind is that based on the composition of the city and the state where you're advertising, Spanglish ads might do well. We try to keep that in mind. The Hispanic community, we say the Hispanic community, but there is no such a thing. It's not a monolith, as we like to talk about. There are multiple versions of it. So in certain states where there are like many second and third generation, Spanglish ads do very well. So people just speak in both languages, like I do, so does Hugo. So it's just something to keep in mind as far as this.
That's so true. Like that Hyundai example yesterday about their super successful bilingual campaign. They did ads in English, in Spanish, and in Spanglish, which I don't even know if Spanglish is even a word, but you understand what it means. It's the combination of speaking in English and Spanish. In fact, our company speaks in Spanglish all the time. And it's like, it's just part of our culture. I'm more English dominant. I can speak Spanish, but in conversations with Andrea, with the team, with Sinari, with JC, it's like sometimes it comes out like we speak in both. And I think you just have to be perceptive to that. If your staff is speaking in that way, there's probably a good chance that the community is speaking that way. Let's take a look at this next one, this higher ranking one. Out of all the AI you've experienced, which one is the best at translating from English to Spanish, in your opinion?
That depends on what specifically you're translating, because there are now platforms that translate English videos into Spanish videos. If you are talking about websites and contents and text-based, at this point, Google Translate and ChatGPT are more or less the same. They're using very close things. So it depends on what you're doing. For video, HeyGen, that we discussed yesterday, is very good at doing that. You always need to have someone running things through just to make sure that especially if there's any slang. But yes, Google Translate and ChatGPT are at this point the best ones at this. And they keep getting better week by week.
I think with copy, it's delicate though, because I read one quote a few months ago. I wish I could remember who said it, but they said, translation is efficient, but it's not always effective. So yes, it will do the job. It will get the job done, but will it connect to the market? Very unlikely that the AI will translate cultural nuance. And I think one of the most common examples we see is that when we build, like, because we're fully bilingual, we do English marketing as well. Like in English, we know that the background of an attorney appeals, it matters to the general market, settlement dollars, just general pedigree, like that matters to the general market. In Spanish, that really doesn't translate. It doesn't convert well. What works well in certain markets is saying that we serve the Hispanic community for X amount of years. We will help you regardless of your documentation status. Like, let's just flip it. Like, if that Spanish copy was in English, it wouldn't connect. So that quote about translations at scale being efficient is very true. You can scale millions upon millions of keywords and copy in a matter of a few minutes, if not hours. But will it connect? No, that nuance is really what you onboard a company like Avogados now for. It's to give you that perspective of, hey, is this appropriate for your market? It also saves you a load of embarrassment if you do it the wrong way.
Yeah, it's even simpler than that. We've seen it a lot that when someone builds a website like that, they put on the homepage home, which makes sense in English, and then they put that in Spanish as casa, which does not make sense in Spanish. So even though it is a literal translation, it actually means an entirely different thing. We do have to stand there for a lot of things that the translator is not going to get, the AI translator. So you do need that human eye.
Awesome. So we have another question here. And by the way, I'm gonna highlight some comments that people left. Like Juliana Cruz says, great seminar. I learned a lot. Thank you, Juliana. That's very, very nice for you to say. And here we have: are there AI-powered tools that optimize live chat or bilingual call to actions for better lead conversion?
I know Perplexity, which Jorge was talking about yesterday, has a lot of really good marketing tools that help a lot with call to actions. Recently, we had a client that used the paid version of ChatGPT to rework the script they use with their AI bot. So yes, there are a lot of scripts that it helps a lot to do it in tools like that. I don't know if any that is specific for live chats, but there are many that you can use to improve your live chat.
I mean, my very polarizing hot take is that I hate chat on a website. I think it deters a user from just doing what most attorneys want, which is calling the damn phone. You know, like we all want that to happen. When someone goes on your website, we don't want them, you know, maneuvering around a bunch of pages and reading and going on forums, writing their whole life story. We don't want that. We want someone, especially now, the majority of your traffic is mobile. Make it easy for them to call in. So my polarizing hot take, which I've evangelized probably way too much, is that live chat is the devil and you should remove it. But if you need to use it, I'm certain that there are AI kind of logic forms. But speaking to what Andy said earlier, he you know, kind of in agreement with him. No one can have a conversation better, at least right now, than a human. So if you have a really high value visitor on your website, do you want to bet on a robot to take over that interaction and then pass it off to intake where it'll inevitably be passed off to? You may as well just cut that middleman, have that high value consumer, potential client, call your office immediately. And yeah, you don't want to give too many options to a consumer on a website. The more options you give them, the more confusing he gets. Just give him one, maximum two. Fill out a form at the bottom of your page. Okay, let's see what else we got here. If I'm seeing increase, oh no, we already saw that one. Let's see. This is a good one. How often should I reassess my lead gen strategies, and what metrics should I use to guide adjustments?
I'm sure you have some things to add. You do have to do this constantly, but not too constantly. And I know that's a really annoying answer, but sometimes people ask us to make a change on a Monday, and on Wednesday they are like, has it worked? And that's 2 days. That's not enough time to judge what impact you're making on the market and if they are responding to what you're doing. So for campaigns, we usually run them quarterly and evaluate them monthly. So that allows you to actually see the full month of data. Sometimes we see a week where there were not many leads, followed by a really amazing week. So when you finish the month, it was actually a really good month. So you need to constantly monitor, but not too constantly that you'll drive yourself insane. Keep making changes that will stop you from getting any better at any point.
Yeah. I think any campaign, I mean, it's why our minimum terms, depending on the market, depending on the practice area, is 3 or 6 months. Because if you can't wait 3 or 6 months, with obviously checkpoints every 2 weeks or every month for status updates, if you can't support that level of investment, that kind of commitment, digital marketing is definitely probably not for you or your firm. So yeah, that commitment level is super important. Now, as far as the metrics, I like looking at the very first metric at the top and then the very last metric at the bottom. Everything in the middle should be managed by your marketers. So I like to look initially at the cost per call. We have a rubric where we can see the cost per call nationwide. Let me see if I can pull it up here. I'm not sure this is like, let's see if we could pull it up.
Are you just going to be revealing all of our trade secrets on this call right now?
I think I'm okay sharing this. I need to hide a couple columns because there's some secret sauce here. So let's take a look here. So We have a really good confidence level on what it costs to generate a call in most practice areas. And we also know what it costs in certain markets, low, medium, and high competition markets. So a low competition market would be where the population density is low. High competition market is where the population density is very high. And we know based on each practice area what it costs, because we run all these campaigns for hundreds of attorneys nationwide. So we have averages that are pretty consistent. I like to look at the cost per call or cost per lead in relation to the averages for your practice area and for the market that you're in, whether you're in a low, medium, or high competition market. If we are beating that average, we're throwing parades. We're going to say double down, spend more, you're doing great. If we're behind on those averages, we're going to say maybe we need to pause, maybe we need to readjust. It's different for everyone's strategy. So the metrics I like to look at initially are cost per call, and then at the end, it's your cost per case. Like, that's all that matters. Like, everything in the middle can be optimized. Cost per click, cost per impression, cost per view, cost per drop off, cost per follow-up. All that can be optimized internally. What largely determines the success of your campaign is what happens on both ends of the funnel. And again, that's probably another hot take. I would imagine 50% of marketers would say I'm completely wrong. I just know it works for me. I run my business the same way. I look at how many appointments my team has generated, how many sales we've generated, revenue metrics, etc. Look at the ends, and I think that will give you a lot of clarity on whether or not you're doing well, whether or not you're on pace with averages, or whether or not you're doing poorly. And the frequency really depends on your ad spend. The more you're spending, the more regularly you want to check in on that. So that's my long-winded answer of saying the both ends matter. What is the conversion rate per call? Adam, I'm not sure it's Adam. If you can, would love to know, like, take a moment to make this for your firm. Tell us what practice area you're in, what market you're in, and what you mean by conversion rate. Like, does that mean what percentage of calls retain? Like, if you could illustrate that on your question, we'll do our best to answer it. How can I personalize my outreach to make each lead valued without adding too much extra work?
I'm sure you'll have an answer for this, Hugo, but something that I've seen work very well is to introduce automations with newsletters and SMS, especially like you have a new client and you want them to walk through a journey, which is like a lot of work the first week, and then you don't have any more work because it is set up. So this is something that brings the client into your world, into what you do, into who you are, and you can have them set up so like every week they get something else. It makes it personal. You can make it to be like, hi, Andrea, this is for you. So that's something that helps a lot with clients because they feel seen, they feel like you're giving them attention. And that's like a very easy thing to implement.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, agreed. It's when you send newsletters, when you send anything, put their first name in. That's like 90% of the work. You don't really need to mention much after. People want to be feeling like seen and heard. And people love to hear their names. There's so many studies on that. So if you do outreach with someone's name, you're already well ahead of most of your competition. What type of intake questions or form fields tend to create drop-off? How can I adjust them for a better completion rate? That I have a quick one for that one because there's a lot of studies on this. 3 to 4 questions max. Realistically, you only want to ask more than that if you're dealing with an extremely high net worth, or rather extremely high value potential case or client. So I think of like the mortgage industry. Everyone wants a mortgage. Few banks want to talk to everyone, right? So what they do is they make you answer a lot of questions before you talk to an underwriter or a loan officer. It's the same thing here. If you're getting too many calls, we hear a lot about this in immigration and family law, where a lot of people are looking for free consults. Ask more questions. However, if you feel like you're not getting enough, yield from your website or your marketing, you're probably asking too many questions. You need to ask fewer. The sweet spot is 3 or 4, if not less, on an intake form. And I'm assuming you mean on your website. If you meant otherwise, please tell us on the Q&A and we can answer that. Andrea?
Culturally, also, we just like to tell you what our problems. We don't want to write a lot about it. It's a little bit stressful because you just want to be able to talk to a person. That's why you're calling. So definitely not more than 4 questions.
Yeah. All right. So Vivian Simpson asks, should we have any type of disclosure if we have an AI generated website or information from our firm? Yes. Simple. Disclose. Going back to the TCPA discussion yesterday, it's just be honest and then follow up with what you're going to promise to do on your marketing. So yeah, I think disclosures are super important. We're kind of in a fuzzy gray area where we don't know how to do that. Where I'm talking to my ethics attorney about how we can do this on behalf of our attorneys without hurting conversions, because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that people convert. So yes, emphatically yes. If you're not doing so already, certainly do it. Start doing it now. And then follow up with Adam. He asked, he had a question about conversion. So personal injury, California, based in LA. You had listed $300 cost per call for high market, assuming LA. Is there correct? How many of those calls convert to signed cases? Is there a good average? Yeah, we're talking about anywhere from 6 to 15% at most. So what does that translate to in your cost per case? In California, $3,000 to $4,500, $3,000 to $4,500. You're not going to get anything less than a $3,000 cost per case in a market like Houston, LA, Miami, New York, Chicago, because it's so competitive. And the markets determine what your ad costs are, and that flows down with your initial metric, which is your cost per call. So the percentage varies, but I just know that in any PI campaign, it's $3,000 to $4,500. We're very transparent about that. Anyone who says less than that, they're lying to you. Run away. They're not. It doesn't make any sense for anyone to yield a $3,000 cost per call or less, rather less than that. And that the good news though is that while that is considered a premium, and it certainly is, and it means less margins for PI attorneys in California, what it does mean is that that's for all cases. That's for your standard auto accidents, but that could also mean a $3,000 to $4,500 cost per case for even the most catastrophic, very high value commercial trucking case, ride share, etc. It's kind of all of the above. So when you run your own marketing, the beauty of it is that the cost per case is stable regardless of the case, which is very different from third party lead sales where that the difference of case types will result in a difference of a cost per lead that you purchase. So when you run your own marketing, you get a static sort of cost per case regardless of case type. That's the beauty of owning your marketing. Whereas when you buy leads, you're buying in a marketplace where people will buy for the highest bidder or only sell to the highest bidder. Let's see. He also followed up with thoughts on hiding contact info until they meet qualification form, i.e. had an accident, recent accident, not a fault, to better train Meta and Google. Sort of, yes and no. I think that depends on how trained up the intake is. So we always see the success of a marketing campaign in 2 components. It's what we do, the marketing, and then what you do in intake. So I don't think that engineering the funnel is that much of an impact as much as it is the collaboration between us, the marketers, and the intake team.
And
Great
also,
question.
I just wanted to mention, sometimes they don't know if they qualify or not. So these questions imply that they know whether they are a good lead or not, and they don't know that. So you might be losing on good cases there.
Totally. All right, let's see. Let's see. Okay, let's take a look at Carla. We'll do these last 2, and then we're going to wrap. Great questions. All right, so Carla asks, in my firm, our goal is to post 2 videos and 1 picture a day. Is this too much? Not enough? Just right?
It's a bit of a lot because I'm not sure how for how long you can maintain that up without overloading your audience to the point that they're like, oh no, not Carla again. And also it's editing, it's scripting, it's filming. So it is a little bit too much. If you're able to do it sustainable, I will make sure that I post all these things at different times of the day and then evaluate the data to see which ones get the most views and then try to keep it at those times. At the beginning, it's a lot of testing to see when you are performing the best. I do think, and again, personal opinion, that it is a little bit too much.
Yeah, I think it might be too much, but if I were you, Carla, I would say don't stop and do this. That's 2 videos a day plus 1 picture. That's 3 assets. There's 20 business days per month. That's 60 total assets. Next month, take all those 60 assets, put them into ads, and then put, if you can, a couple $1,000s to support advertising all of those 60 assets, and find out with the same ad spend across all those assets, which ones are getting the most. You'll probably get, like, let's say 5 higher engagement assets or posts. Mm-hmm. That could inform that you should just do those 5 types of videos and images in perpetuity. And then it might not require you to create 60 assets a month. It might require you to only create 1 asset a day, and a very high quality one that was informed by the ad performance. I haven't really thought this thing through. That was my gut instinct was to say, just do that, just test all these and then find out which works. Let's say it's less than 10% of them, and double down on those. So yeah, I think Andrea speaks to, like, the stamina of it. Sounds like a pain in the ass, honestly, to create all those assets. I would like to think that there's probably a more efficient way to find out which ones are hitting based on ads performance, and then just kind of distill it down to that. All right, last question. This is for you, Andrea. Juliana Cruz asks, Andrea, can you give us samples of apps we could use for that, referring to the newsletters and personalized messages?
Yeah, there are quite a few. Last year we did a panel on this. I wonder if that information is available on our website. It might be, but it will depend on what you want to do and what you want to expend. They are not very expensive. MailChimp is the basic one. It's very user friendly. It's not expensive, and you can do both the text messages and the email newsletters on MailChimp. There are other ones. There is Textedly for SMS, and there are other platforms. But I think if you're just starting with this, MailChimp will give you everything you want, and it would already have layouts prepared that you can just customize and create your client path. So MailChimp, long story short.
Yeah, I'm actually going to share my screen real quick, because soft plug, if you go to Avogados Now, and then you click on videos, and then you click on 2024 Summit, and then click day 1, you could see this module here called the Email and Text Marketing for Law Firms module. It's great. This one was like super popular because in our final month, it talked a lot about what tools to use, like Andrea mentioned, and these are all really cost effective. So highly recommended to, like we mentioned earlier in the Andy conversation, you have to have some kind of marketing automation, because if you don't, it's just going to put you behind in competition.
Yeah.
Amazing. So I think that's it for now. If you have any other questions, feel free to email me, hugo@avogadosnow.com. You can also email our team member, jc@avogadosnow. Andrea's email is also available to a.ferrer, a.ferrer @avogadosnow.com. I'm sure she'll be thrilled to answer all of your questions. So throw all of them at her, because she'll do them all.
See how you're not appreciated in this world? No, everyone, message Hugo.
And Alejandro, saw your question. Please feel free to email me. I'll answer personally there. And again, thank you to everyone. What an amazing event. See you soon. See you. If not next year, we'll see you in a few months. Bye.